Hello and welcome to the very first layout update / layout tour of the HO scale Union Pacific Cascade Subdivision set between Eugene, Oregon and Klamath Falls, Oregon. In this very first layout update, I hope to walk through everything and discuss the concept, the ideas, what work I've done in future projects for all locations of layout, as well as hopefully put together and give people a little bit better idea of how everything fits together. Here we are looking at Westfir, Oregon. This is the very first scene on Cascade Sub. Trains exit lower staging and enter the scenic part of the layout here. As you can see, scenery is well underway. This is my first attempt at scenery, and not ever, but on this layout. And so things went well. Things didn't go as well as I'd hoped in some cases. And after seeing the prototype, in the actual Westfir, there are some changes I want to make, and so there will be a video series about translating what is actually seen in the real world into the model form, and how to adapt if there are things that you aren't necessarily happy about. Operationally, here in Westfir, not really a control point or any sort of siding. The spur that you see there in the foreground, this will function as a helper pocket. So when trains come into the layout from Eugene, which is lower staging, and then enter into Oakridge, which is the town at the other side of the tunnel there, Tunnel 22, the helpers to push that train over the hill will be sitting in the spur. Operationally, that way the helpers have access to the back end of the train, given the length of the siding in Oakridge. And then the positive of that is that the main line in Oakridge and mainline and siding are not occupied at the same time. I want to talk a little bit about the scenery here at Tunnel 22. All of these rock castings, all of these rocks here are hand carved and just out of plaster of Paris. The tunnel is a resin casting, painted and weathered with acrylic craft paints. The conifer trees that you see, those are handmade, and I'll continue to hand make hundreds, if not 1,000 of those over the course of doing the scenery. We've got super trees. We've got super trees up here in bright spring foliage, and then some of the bushes here are Martin Welberg low bushes. And so the major changes that will be coming here to the scenery are just a density of bushes. There's a lot more to add along the rocks here, in the foreground here as well. I'd like to continue to add scenery materials, but this is I think a good start in terms of where the layout is going scenery wise. Now, moving along from Westfir, we enter into what is referred to as the Oakridge neighborhood. And so here the Oakridge siding begins. Eventually there will be a set of signals here. And as you can see, we've got a manifest sitting in the on the main line there. Those are two new scale trains, Tier 4 GEVOs that I've just weathered. In the foreground here, let me move the camera a little bit closer. foreground here, there'll be 2 homes. This is modeling Locust Street in Oakridge, and then the main road here is Commercial Avenue. Here's a little bit better view of the Oakridge neighborhood scene, as well as how it incorporates over into Tunnel 22 and Westfir. And so this is a place where I've just started scenery. I've got a video on how I did the static grass. Again, a lot more to add, a lot more ballast to add. A lot of trees and brush on the back hill. And then of course the homes and the opportunities there to model a little bit more of a residential area. And so yeah, really looking forward to how this scene progresses. So continuing on, this is the town of Oakridge, Oregon, which is the operational hub of the Cascade Subdivision, and actually where the Cascade Subdivision begins. The track arrangement is largely prototypical, albeit greatly compressed. And so I'll just talk through some of the tracks here. In the far back, you've got a little bit of maintenance of way, repair and place tracks, where the caboose and yellow boxcar are. That is one of the legs of the Y. As you can see here in the left by the Mopac Heritage Unit, I've removed the other leg of the simulated Y and tied it in here to the diesel and local power tracks. A little bit more operationally efficient in terms of doing that. Here in Oakridge, manned helpers will be stationed, and this is that's where they will park before heading down into the spur at Westfir to meet any uphill trains. Typically I'll run 2 6-axle units for helper power, and then there's also the former Southern Pacific unit there is serving as local power. The middle track is a little bit of a run by track, and then there's 2 yard tracks right up next to the siding for box cars, center beam, flat cars, and wood chips cars that will be used and serviced by Pope and Talbot Sawmill, which is just on the other side or behind the camera as we're looking now. And then of course out front you've got the main line and then siding. So trains will pull into the siding, and then helpers will attach from the rear using the spur at Westfir, and then they'll head up the hill. All right, continuing the other direction, here in the bottom right hand corner, this will be the future track to the Pope and Talbot Sawmill. And then you can see in the foreground here, this is where the other end of the siding at Oakridge. The area in the back here, there'll be a road crossing here, Beach Street, and then a service road into the yard. In the foreground here has a lot of interesting sheds and a few different trailers and buildings in the Oakridge yard, and so I hope to model some of those, and those will be some scratch build projects in the future. Those will go there. And then you can see in the background that empty spline is the spur into Pope and Talbot. All right, moving along, we've got the main line in the foreground. This is the Pope and Talbot and Salmon Creek area. In the background there, you can see the spline for the mill, and then where all the painting supplies and scenery supplies are located there. That is the future location of the mill. We'll have 2 spurs, a wood chip track, and then a lumber loading track. So I look forward to modeling that, kind of a backdrop scene or a background scene. And then here will be the future site of a ballasted deck bridge. This is where the main line crosses Salmon Creek, and then it'll head into a tunnel and helix. All right, on the other side of the helix, and on the other side of the backdrop from Salmon Creek, we have just a scenic area here. This is the first area that visitors will see when they enter the layout. It kind of really sets the tone of mountain railroading in Oregon. There'll be a tunnel about here, and then trains will exit into a meadowy open area with this nice painted backdrop there. Go into another tunnel here, short tunnel, and then loop over the entrance to the layout where there's a duck under and into Fields. So here we are in Fields, Oregon. Trains exit a tunnel just out of camera here on the right. And then this is the second siding on the railroad. The grade levels off here to about 1 to 1.25%. You can see the switch there. That's a Fast Tracks hand-built turnout. It's powered by a Tortoise switch machine, which is controlled with Digitrax SE8Cs. Whole layout and control system is Digitrax, and really happy with it thus far. And then you can see the siding is close to the aisle, and the main line is along the backdrop there. Here, a lot of trees, narrow scenes, similar to Westfir right below us. Pretty narrow benchwork, but a lot of opportunities for scenery, and I enjoy the challenge of that lies ahead here. Now that the Klamath Falls staging or upper level staging is complete up top, I'll come back in and add LED lighting, which will really brighten up this scene and kind of help, as well as a fascia for Klamath Falls up top, and that'll help the scene look a little bit more finished. This is soon to be, or next on the list in terms of putting terrain forms in with cardboard webbing and construction paper held together with hot glue, and then sculpt and mold to fill in all the gaps. So more to come. So here we are at the other end of Fields. You can see the turnout down here, and to the left, this is where the grade kicks up. Again, here, or I should say, in contrast to the other locations of Fields, this is a really deep scene. I think it's over 24 inches deep, and at eye level, and so really great scenery possibilities here that I look forward to. And then turning the camera, sorry for the shakiness, you can see Oakridge down below. The grade kicks up here, and then there will be a tunnel here, and the scenery will transition, kind of using the upper reverse loop as a little bit of a transition between the lower mountain level, the mid deck to the upper deck. So let's go look at the upper deck and the climb itself. Okay, so sorry for the camera angle. It's a little difficult to capture everything with a tripod that only goes so high, and a lot of this track is above eye level, and in some cases above head level. and so I'll use the pointer as best I can. This fascia profile here is yet to be cut, but there will be a tunnel here, which you can kind of see in the backdrop painting how that terrain is going to look. Tunnel 10 will be here with its snow shed, and then it'll go across Noisy Creek, which kind of lines up with this low dip here. Noisy Creek trestle, and then tunnel 9 on the other side of that again with the snow shed. We'll bring the trains around the corner, using the tunnel here to kind of hide the tighter radius in that curve. So this will really be quite a dramatic scene in terms of the steepness of the terrain as well as the height. So trains exit tunnel 4 up here on the spline. This is about between 50 and 60, or maybe 60 and 70 inches off the ground here. Recently, a good friend of mine, Cam, from the BNSF Plains Division on YouTube, known as Railfan T20. He came over, we had a little bit of an operating session, but also started working on this scenery. And so you can see how this hill up here will divide the Middle Peninsula, as well as create a nice looking backdrop for trains running up the hill. All right, so now we're going handheld, and so I hope that this is as smooth as possible. So here's a little bit of an overview of the upper climb, transition out of Fields, Tunnel 10, Noisy Creek, Tunnel 9, around the corner, into and out of Tunnel 4. Then we have this nice broad S-curve here in the foreground. Before tracks make their way up to Summit. So we'll go over there and take a look at Summit, as well as Klamath Falls staging. So here we are at Summit, and you can kind of get a good idea. Well, there's no scenery in place. The grade difference, or the height difference there of the two tracks, or the one track as it loops its way around the room. Here, looking back, trains come around the corner, and this will kind of give you a little bit perspective of how everything is situated with Westfir, Fields, and then the upper level here. This is upper level staging. Klamath Falls, or represents Klamath Falls. All the turnouts are hand laid in here. Still have some fine tuning to do with those, but they've functioned very, very well thus far. 5 tracks plus a runaround, or a reverse loop, so you can fit some pretty decent length trains. We run between 15 and 20 car trains. Anything over 15 really needs 2 helpers, given the curvature. We've had some casualties due to string lining. Less of a weight issue and more of the track geometry, which is great. It's a lot of fun to run helpers here, and the way everything is set up, the shorter trains by modern standards aren't really a problem, because you can never, even with a 15 car train, you can't really ever see the rear of the train if you're following your locomotives. And then here, looking back at Summit, just to get a better perspective of that, of how it's all laid out. So just to finish the tour, I wanted to give a little bit of a walkthrough to put everything into perspective. Here's lower staging, pretty much exactly the opposite of upper staging. Same amount of tracks, same length, same control systems, turnouts, etc. Here is the control station. So this is all powered by JMRI, all the turnouts and everything, as well as a programming track there. And then Digitrax, I believe it's a PRX4 or PX4 or PR4. PR4, it says it right on it. This is what the computer uses to communicate with both the programming track and LocoNet. This is the drop-in here for the entrance. It's just held in place with cabinet magnets and just plugs in for track control. Here we have Westfir, again Fields, and then entering into the room, the Oakridge neighborhood, into Oakridge. This is the top of the helix here in Wicopee. And you can see the bottom reverse loop in Eugene. The what would be the south end of Fields, and then the upper level Klamath Falls reversing loop. Continuing into, there's the tripod in the way, the south end, railroad south end of Oakridge. Got Pope and Talbot, the entrance to the helix, Salmon Creek, and then of course the upper level. Sorry for the shakiness, trying to keep it as smooth as possible. Well, that is the layout in brief. I hope everyone enjoyed this first layout update and layout tour. There's definitely more to be said about each of the locations on the railroad, future projects, and what things are going to look like. I will save those for future videos, so please stay tuned. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and a like. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment them. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I look forward to continuing to document the projects and progress of the layout, and hope you decide to follow along. Thank you.